Great. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Zoom group. You're very welcome, whether you're here in person or you're watching the video afterwards. We'll start off with just a little meditation just to focus on the connection that we all have. So with meditation, I like to just close my eyes. I don't like to get into a special kind of meditative position. I like to just close my eyes, and it's like taking a snapshot of where my body is. So I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying that's what I do. So, but do close your eyes. And then begin to gently scan your body. Let your body kind of talk to you and tell you where the tensions are and what it likes and what it would prefer to help you get more kind of connected. So you may find yourself uncrossing your legs if they're crossed. You may find yourself disconnecting your hands if they're connected. You may find yourself sitting up straighter. But, you know, let your body tell you what it likes, where it's not comfortable. One area I find doesn't talk to me that readily is my stomach. So I have to actually consciously relax it, let it kind of flop out, and then let it flop out a bit more, and then let it flop out a bit more. And it's always amazing to me how much tension is there. That could be just me, but I've heard other people saying the same thing as well. Another place is shoulders. So a nice thing to do just to sort of get it going in your shoulders is to hunch them up and then let them drop. And then you know, it's just easier to let go of tension. How's your breathing? Are you breathing all right? The more you let your stomach flop, the more I let my stomach flop, the more easily I breathe, the deeper I breathe. There's two parts to breathing that I've discovered. There's the sort of breathy part that comes in through your mouth and down into your lungs. And then there's the energetic part. And that sort of comes up through the center of your body, as if the center of your body was like a cylinder that was filled up with energy. And it sort of comes in and out like the tide. And the two are kind of triggered. The two are linked. And you get a little sense of it if you breathe out completely. And then just don't consciously breathe in. Just wait. So you can get a sense of that energy rising. This is actually easier to do when you're lying down, easier to get a sense of when you're lying down. But you can get a little bit of a sense of it when you're sitting up. And what it feels like to me is I can feel the kind of energy coming up into my system. A little bit like, you know, it reminds me of videos I've seen, or I've actually seen in person, where they inflate hot air balloons. So you got this big envelope lying flat that is the balloon, and then they have this fan and they lift up one bit and the air is blown into the balloon. It's similar. That's what it feels like. It's sort of something's coming in to my system. I like to include that energetic breathing because with the breathy breathing that comes into my lungs, I feel very involved in it, and it feels like, yes, I'm breathing and I'm going to take a breath now. Whereas the energetic breathing feels like I'm being breathed into. Something's breathing into me, animating my body, loving me. It feels like that to me anyway. So just to focus on the connection a little bit more. Before you closed your eyes, you will have been somewhere, sitting in a room, probably, looking at a device of some kind, phone, tablet, laptop, something like that. And you know, my little head would have been on there chatting away, and you would hear my voice. But you would have, in that version of things, you would have been on your own in the room. Then you close your eyes and you sort of come into inner space, your inner space. Outer space is still there. You know, if you opened your eyes, it'll all still be there. But now you're kind of more focused on inner space. So just put your attention in your hands for the moment. And just to highlight how much sensation is going on in your hands, if you compare the difference in the quality of the sensation between the front of your hands and the back of your hands, you'll get a sense of it. Like for me, the front of my hands, my fingertips, like the palms of my hands, is very fine and very sensitive. Whereas the sensation on the back of my hands is more expansive, not so focused, more tingling. That sort of tingling sensation, if that was bubbles, the bubbles would be bigger on the back of my hand than the front of my hand. It's much finer on the front of my hand. So just get a sort of, take a snapshot of what the sensation in your hands feels like. As you continue to pull back from existence in a way into inner space. So you could think of your body like a jelly mold where your eyes are the, you know, you were looking through that jelly mold into the world. It's sort of a mold of your body. You're pulling back from that. Just let go of the idea that the inner space of your body is confined to the back of your body. Just let go of the shape of the back of your body, and you can think of it more like that it's much bigger on the inside than it looks like on the outside. And in this inner space, you can do all sorts of things. Like it's much bigger than it looks. And it connects with all the inner spaces and all the other people. So you can connect with me now, if you like. You can put your arms out on either side of you. Stretch out your hands as if you're reaching out to touch somebody on either side. And you can, with that sort of snapshot that you took of the sensation in your hands, you can have that, and then you may feel something else. And I'm also talking to you if you're watching the video. You can do this too, because time and space operate differently in inner space. So you can still connect with me. You can still, if you do this, if you stretch out your hands, and you can, you'll have a sense of, oh yeah, that's the sensation in my hands. And yeah, there's some other thing there. There's some other thing that wasn't there before. That'll be me. You got a connection with me. And if your mind is going, hang on a minute, I'm just watching a video. How could I be connecting with him? Number one, he's in a different country and he recorded this video 2 months ago. How could I? Yeah, just say, you can just say to your mind, yeah, that's all. They're all very good concepts and ideas. But just for now, I'm just going to focus on the sensation in my hand and just see if I can feel something different. You can agree. You can make an arrangement with your mind that you'll have a good old think about all that later. Just for now, see if you can get a sensation of me. And now see if you can get a sensation of all the other people in the group. And again, your mind will may come in and want to get involved in this, and sort of have everybody standing around in a big circle. And yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. You can simultaneously connect with everybody else in the group all at the same time. And you'll register it in a similar kind of way. There'll be the sensation of your hands, and then something else, something that wasn't there before. That'll be the other people in the group. Same again, if you're watching the video, you can do this too. Time and space are different in here. You can connect with us. And now you can get a sense of all the people who have, if you're watching the video, all the people who have watched the video before you and all the people who are going to watch it. And similarly for the people in the group, you can get a sense of all the people who are going to watch the video. They all can exist simultaneously in inner space all at the same time. And the same again, if your mind is getting involved in that and going, hang on, now that what about this and what about that? And say, that's great, I'm going to have a good think about this later. But right now I'm just going to be with the feeling, the sensation. What's your heart telling you? Just let your heart have this one, the connection. Because the thing about this is, it's kind of, you're demonstrating to yourself that when you have your eyes open and you're in kind of outer space or in existence, there's one form of communication, this kind of technological form of communication with devices and Wi-Fi and Zoom and that sort of thing. And then behind the scenes, it's always more real. The further back you come from reality, from existence, the more real that things get. So behind the scenes, this communication that I'm sort of highlighting, and that it's always there. There's always people to connect with. There's always people available for you. When people talk about transcendental experiences where they experience oneness and they say, oh, I looked at the leaf and I was connected to the leaf, or I looked at this dog and I was connected to this dog. There's no difference between me and the dog or the sparrow or this person. I looked into their eyes and I just saw we're all one. We're all together. There's no distinction. Where they would be registering that beautiful realization is back here where we are now. It's not like they joined the other person or the other dog or anything like that in existence. They registered it inside, just the way you're registering it now, all going well. You're not on your own. Okay, so if you feel like you've traveled very deeply somewhere and you feel like you have to travel back, then that's fine. Take your time to do that before you open your eyes. Where I encourage you, or what I encourage you to do though, is, and where I'd encourage you to head towards, is being able to hold that inner space that, I mean, we haven't spent a huge amount of time going into it, but say, if you're meditating on your own and you feel like you're quite deep, aim to be able to hold that with your eyes open. So just for now, just to get a bit of practice with that, you can kind of open your eyes and check, you go, okay, there's the room again. There's my phone, there's the laptop, whatever. There's John's head and talking. And then, but I'm also still where I was inside. I can still feel it inside me. And then if you're like, oh, can I? Oh, maybe not. Then just close your eyes again and like, oh, there, it's all there. It's just there instantly. And then I'll open my eyes. It's still there. I can hold both. Aim to be able to do that. Because you could, if you think of meditation in terms of depth and you go down into the depths, being able to hold both brings the depths up to the surface for you so that you're sort of with it more. It's not like it's some special thing that you do, like that you're, completely beautiful and still for 15 minutes. And then for the next hour or two, or till you meditate again, you're a basket case of stress and hassle, Try and holding the two together helps bring it up so that you can experience both at the same time. Okay. So does anyone have any questions or comments or anything they're concerned about or would like to talk about? Much rather talk about the things you're interested in than things that I might want to, or that might come out of me. Okay, so this person says, I listen to your painters podcast and you always ask them, how do you check yourself as you're working? And they always use something like they look in a mirror, or they use photos, or they turn their painting upside down. And that makes me think that if they need to check themselves, it's because they have a previous composition idea or feeling of what they'd like to achieve. They have a goal. So in the spiritual practice, I wonder, how do I check myself? I understand that you check yourself through intuition. They're talking about me there, in your meditative state. But what tools we, non yet, in brackets, enlightened people could use? This question makes me also think about my goal in the spiritual path. Do I have one? I just started doing meditation because I was curious. I wanted to explore that inner space more. And I found an Indian guru and a method that helped me open a door. And through that door, I could enter to a void that was full of quiet and pleasant presence, like my presence without my name or body. I experienced that through meditation. Then, maybe because I thought my meditation wasn't so good, in inverted commas, or I didn't know why, at some point I lost my inspiration for practicing and began to feel more disconnected from the guru's organization. I still loved the chant and the mantra, but I wasn't feeling the group meditation like satsang. And it wasn't inspiring me. So through what mirrors can I check myself to know if it's okay to stop doing something, or if I'm being lazy, or I'm blocked, or scared? And asking this makes me realize that it's important to me to check myself because I have a goal and I don't want to forget it or abandon it, although I'm not doing all the guru's recommended practices. I want to keep moving forward or deeper into my inner center and be alert to see the signals that are telling me that the next train is coming. Or if I didn't realize and I thought I was moving and I was just on that little trains in an amusement park that move in circles and don't really go anywhere. Okay. So it's important to wonder about being off track, but not to drive yourself insane about it. Because, you know, you have to kind of come back to the fundamental thing of like, not everyone's interested in this. You know, you probably had this experience. You talk to people about spiritual stuff or consciousness or something like that, and they'll just glaze over, or they'll call you intense, or they'll say, oh, well, who cares? You know, just, you know. So the fact that you do care, that's not to be overlooked. You know, that's what's driving you, and that will inform you. So it's kind of a matter of trust. And it's like I was saying last week about gurus, you know, the thing about gurus, and I must, you know, reiterate again that the time of the guru is over. And you can see it, like, you can see it because gurus are like the spiritual version of celebrity, I think. And you can see what happened to that during COVID, right? So you had a, particularly say with the talk show hosts, it's hilarious, you know, everybody, right? Everybody, you know, everybody when lockdown happened first, all the people who had like these teams of people producing their shows for them suddenly had to, you know, do this, what I'm doing, you know, exactly what I'm doing, you know. So their hair looked terrible. They didn't have great makeup. They just looked really ordinary. Like that's I think life at work breaking down this idea of like the person up on the stage, like, oh, we are unworthy. You're, you know, you're brilliant. And if I could just be like you, everything would be great. So it's the same with gurus. That time is over, I think. And we're all just helping each other now. So there's no, even if people still are up on stages, it's, you know, saying, oh, well, this is the way life is, and this is how you should live your life, and all that sort of stuff. It's it's on the way out. I don't know why my camera is freaking out, but anyway. That time is on the way out. Okay. So my experience of gurus, right, and I went into this a lot last week, is, you know, and I see this in every guru that's on YouTube and out and about doing their thing that I have come across, is the same. And it's just the human thing, right? It's like 90% they're, give or take, of what they say is fantastic, like so profound, so beautiful, so transformative, like powerfully transformative, that it's easy. It's like a light, you know, this bright light that shines. It's so easy to let it obscure the 10%, the human part of them, you know, the bit that they're still working out, is still working away through them, you know. Um, and it's the 10% that kind of will get you in trouble, because it's hard to surrender to this beautiful energy that's coming through them and still be discerning, you know. When they say, like, they could say, you know, A, B, and C, and it's absolutely had this fantastic ring of truth, transformative ring of truth to it. But then D, you know, so they go A, B, C, and you're like, oh, it's like these bells gone off. And then D is like, really? Okay. And then, you know, they're saying, but you must believe me, you know, and you have to do what I'm telling you, because if you want to become liberated or whatever, get enlightened or whatever it is that they're talking about, they have to do it, you know. And like, even if they say, like Barry Long, who was my spiritual master, used to say regularly, don't believe anything I say, which is real, like, you know, just do your head in, you know, because he would go on to say, now I'm telling you the truth. Here's the truth. I'm giving you the truth, you know, like, what? So, you know, it's great to come along and to encounter somebody like, and you know, so this person was talking about their Indian guru that they came across, and they liked, you know, what they were saying, and it worked for a while, and then they didn't, and then it didn't, and the practice fell off. Like, for me, it'd be like anything real stays, in my experience. Anything real stays, you know, like my experience, say, with Barry. It's a good example, right? Here's a good example. I came across Barry Long. I was in, like, how I came across Barry Long was through personal development. I knew somebody who was into it, and I was totally into all these really hardcore personal development trainings, you know, gut wrenching. And I met somebody and they introduced me to Barry Long. And back then it was all books and tapes, cassette tapes, you know, and it was like, oh, okay. And I really, you know, something, I could tell it was something profound. And I had probably been listening to his tapes for, I think, about a year. And then parallel with that, the personal development thing was happening and things were changing in my life. And somebody started talking about Amway. Somebody in that circle started talking about Amway, right? Now, if you don't know what Amway is, it's a sort of direct selling thing, right? The furthest thing from me, right? And the way I kind of thought of myself. And the guy who got me into Amway was just such a good salesman. I mean, in hindsight, it is a kind of a brainwashing sort of thing that he did on me, because, you know, he made it his life's, you know, work to figure out answers to every objection that would ever be put up against why you should not go into Amway. So I sort of said all the things, and, you know, and at the time I was very interested in filmmaking, and I wanted to make films that would change the world, right, in a positive way. And so, yeah, he was like, well, why don't you? Why aren't you? And I said, well, I don't have the money. He said, well, you know, I can help you with that. You know, I am, you know, in this thing and I'm making loads of money. So you can, you know, and you do it. So I got into it, right? Thinking I'm getting into this to make the money, whatever. And then basically the process is of, you know, the whole organization was geared up. And the basic message was, if you want to be where we are and we're loaded, and, you know, you'd go to one of the meetings and they'd arrive in their Rolls Royces, and, you know, they like were really trying to, you know, convince you that they were loaded. Maybe they were, but basically they were going, if you want to make the money we're making, do what we tell you. That was it. So little by little, I did more and more, you know, so I ended up like wearing suits and doing cold calls to people and like doing stuff that was so alien to me. You know, but all, you know, because I have all these people going, oh, well, if you want to, look, you can go and do your own thing if you want, but if you want to be successful like we are, you have to do what we're doing. So I did that for about a year, and it was awful. It was a horrible year. I lost more friends that year, you know, and I did more things that were just completely alien to me, you know. It was awful. And eventually, you know, and I still knew about Barry Long. That's the thing, like, you know, Barry Long, I still knew about all that stuff. And eventually I kind of, you know, I just looked at myself in the mirror one day, and unfortunately, part of the culture of Amway was like, you just can't quit. Not that you, of course you can quit. There's nothing to say you won't quit, but like, what is it? Winners never quit and quitters never win. You know, that was a mantra. And people who quit were just like, you know, there was a strong, um, you know, you really had to, you had to leave it all behind. You know, it's not like you could stay friends with anybody. Quit, you know, you couldn't quit Amway and still stay friends with the people who are in Amway. You became sort of unclean, financially, you know, mentally kind of unclean. So yeah, it was really hard for me to sort of stop, particularly because I'd burned so many bridges, like, because that was part of it, you know. It was like, do you really want to be successful? Do you really want to do this? Well, then do that, you know. I'd do that and be like, that person never talked to me again. There's still people who won't talk to me, probably because of that. So part of me coming out of that, you know, was kind of rereading some of Barry's books and going, yeah, this is, what was I thinking? You know, so what was happening there? Was I off track? Was I, you know, doing something wrong? Or, and in hindsight, I don't think so at all. You know, if it came up again, I wouldn't do it again, of course, but that's experience. But that thing inside me that was driving me forward and was, you know, like it's really hard to put in words, right? But you know, there's, you know, I've talked about it a little bit, you know, in other Zoom groups. You know, there's like, I feel like I'm part of some big thing. You know, I'm a little cell of a big thing, and I love that thing, and it loves me. But it's not like lovey-dovey love. It's not like personal. It's very impersonal, and yet it's like just rock solid. And you know, because I just love that thing, and that, you know, and I am part of it, and it's part of me, that just drives me, you know. So it drove me to find Barry Long and then into Amway and all that kind of unconsciousness and trying to be something that I wasn't, and feeling completely lost, and then coming back to Barry. You know, it was like all part of the same thing, you know. So if you know, you come across something and it seems great for a while and then suddenly you stop, well, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And for me, I don't know if I check myself intuitively. I just kind of trust myself. I trust that. I trust that connection, that if I'm off track, or if I feel like I'm off track, or if something's wrong, then I'll correct. I'll self-correct, you know, or I'll die. You know, like really, that's it in life, isn't it? It's like I'll either sort it out or I'll die. You know, that's for me anyway. That's, it kind of comes down to that, because it's like the stakes feel really high in life, but then, you know, it all disappears every night. So they're not that high. They just feel that high, you know, like personal growth, spiritual path, all that stuff. It feels like it's really important, and it is really important to me, but everything disappears every night. And that is like me reminding myself to not take it too seriously. It's just a movie I'm enjoying. And to enjoy a movie, you can't sit in the movie theater, you know, not that you could do that now anyway, but yeah, let's pretend. You could sit, it's not like you sit in the movie theater going, oh, well, this is just like flickers of light on a wall. This is not real, you know? And you're not there for that. You know, if that's the way you want to, you know, interact with the cinema, then you wouldn't even go into the cinema. And some people don't, they just don't like it. But if you go to the cinema, you want to be in it, like, and take part, and like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh, and then it's really sad. And you want to, you know, you don't want to be sitting there like this, you know, this is all bullshit. No, you want to get right into it. And it's the same with life, you know, take it completely seriously, but then also know that it's not real. It doesn't, you know, disappears every night. And one day it looks like it's going to disappear for good. So, you know, to kind of hold those two seemingly opposing perspectives together at the same time, you know, paradox, in my experience, is a big part of spiritual insight and understanding, you know. So let me see now, did I answer? Let me go back to the question. So we can go off on a tangent. Yeah, the thing about painters, yeah, painters have a goal. Is there? I don't have a goal in my spiritual life. I did before I got enlightened. That was my goal: get enlightened. So everything kind of flowed in behind that. But then after that, no, I haven't had a goal since. Because it's sort of, for me, it's like, well, do trees have a goal? Do lambs have the goal of becoming a sheep? I don't think so. They're just being whatever they are, you know. Puppies just be puppies until they become dogs. And it's the same, you know, it's like growth kind of trajectory. It just happens. And so like, I mean, it's kind of black and white for me, because, you know, I did have a goal, get enlightened, then I got enlightened, and that was it. that I don't have any goals anymore after that, you know. What my life is about listening to the movement of that big thing I was talking about, and that I'm part of, and trying to be in tune with it, and to not get in the way of it, and not try and go, oh no, I want my thing, you know, I want my thing. And no, I don't care what life is kind of encouraging me to do. No, I want my thing. I want it to go my way. I'm doing that less and less, and I'm trying to be more in the flow with it. That's what I've been doing pretty much since I got enlightened. And to greater or lesser, with greater or lesser success. So, but that's for me, and like that demands everything of me to be able to listen. You know, to listen. When I'm saying listening, I'm not listening with my ears. I'm listening with my whole body. You know, I'm watching everything in my life. Everything is significant. Everything is part of this kind of conversation, impersonal conversation I'm having with life, or this bigger thing. It's very hard. I can't put words on it, you know. I mean, people call it God. I don't really like to call it God. You know, it's just this big thing. You know, it's got a movement to it. It's moving. It's doing something. It's got a plan. It's got a plan that there is no plan, or something. I don't know. You know, I kind of think of it in terms of I'm a little cell in the body of a bigger thing, and I'm just trying to be the best little cell I can be. And you know, be like a cell in my fingernail, you know, talking, going, I just want to be the best fingernail cell in this body. You know, of course, the fingernail cell is part of the body, and the body is part of the fingernail. It's sort of like that, you know. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or reflections on that bit so far? I think I've answered that person's question. I hope I have.
So you think that in order to get enlightened or whatever, like to, I don't know how to say it. Yes.
Yeah, no, you said it right. Enlightened, yeah.
Yeah. Um, you need to have that goal or a direction. Like you had it, but do you think that all of us need to have a direction?
God, I don't know. I mean, it's such a personal thing. I just know for myself, you know. Like I talk about enlightenment because nobody else would, except Barry Long was the only one I knew who talked about it and said, "Yeah, I'm enlightened. What's the big deal?" Or the other, you know, in everything else I read, it was always it was talked about in the past. But and anybody who was teaching and, you know, and active now, and when it came to enlightenment, they were always a bit, you know, mystical about it, and a bit, you know, wishy-washy. They wouldn't just come out straight and say it. And I kind of think of it in terms of if I came across me, I wouldn't want me to be saying, oh, well, it's, it's a, it's a phrase that people put a lot of attention on. I'd be like, look, are you enlightened or not? Tell me, I want to know, because I want to, it's a thing. It's a big thing for me. So that's the only reason I talk about it, and I think that's why it bothers some people, is that it's like, how dare you say you're enlightened, and it's like, but like, they're talking about what enlightenment means to them. I'm just talking about what it means to me. So if they're saying you couldn't be enlightened because you can't turn yourself invisible and you can't breathe underwater, or whatever criteria they have, and I'm like, well, that's fine. Like, you go and do that. That's what, that's the hook you've got. You've got yourself on. So go and do that so you can take yourself off that hook. But I don't think everyone should get enlightened. I think it'd be lovely if everybody did get enlightened, if they had that, a similar thing. If they were in the state that similar to the one I was before I got enlightened, then yeah, that'd be beautiful. But it's not, it was quite, in a way, it's quite selfish. It's not like, I mean, there's some, is it Buddhists, I think, or I can't remember, some tradition where they're like, they're really, driven to get everybody enlightened. Everyone's got to, we can't be happy until everyone is liberated or something like that. I don't have that. Not because I don't think it's selfish. I'm just really respectful of everyone's movement, everyone's story, everyone's journey, like, what do I know? I only know about me, I only know about my experience. I don't know what's right for anybody else. I'm not even, completely sure what's right for me. That's one of the things I'm trying to, feel my way along with. So, like, I think, sort of my sense of what you're asking me about is not so much to do with the names and the terminology. It's more a quality of like being concerned about getting it wrong in some way, or being off track, or, that there's some other force at work. And in my experience, there isn't. Like, there's just, you're living your life. If these things are of interest to you, that's it. That's telling you something. And, if the idea of enlightenment is of interest to you, you can sort of read up on it. You can talk to people who say they're enlightened and find out and sort of get a sense of what their energy feels like. And if you're like, yeah, they've got something I don't have, and I wouldn't mind, and I'll talk to them like you would actually with painters, or artists, like that person's question, you kind of go, you sort of see something, you're like, yeah, you gotta want to get closer to that, and then you get close enough and you go, oh, I thought I'd like that, but nah, it's not really that, it's not that interesting after all, or it's not really that my thing, but there's still that thing inside you that's moving you forward in your life, because it comes down to that thing of, well, is it all random? Like, is your life all random? Is this experience that you're having, is it just haphazard? Or is there some deep significance to it, and some deep significance to you? Because that's kind of what drives me, is this kind of deep sense of, this is not random, it's all significant. I don't know what the significance is half the time, or even 3/4 of the time, but for the quarter of the time I do get a glimpse into the significance of it. That's enough to keep me going. And from what it looks like to me is like what the process of life is, it's about refining unconsciousness. It's almost like, we're all lined up in heaven. I'm just using those words as kind of cliche. And we're like, okay, I'm going to go down and have a life. And, there's St. Peter, or is it St. Peter? Somebody, they're handing out bundles of unconsciousness. And like, how much unconsciousness do you want? I'll have 2 kilos, please. And I'll spend my life just refining that unconsciousness. you know, and some people are like, oh, look, I can take a bit more. I'll have 3 kilos of unconsciousness, you know, so they've got a lot. So you meet these people and they just will drive you insane because they're so unconscious, right? But there's still the same kind of thing at the center, refining the unconsciousness. And maybe they get through their life and they've refined it, you know, like 1 kilo out of the 3, or maybe they've refined a lot. Or then you meet somebody who's like, you know, I'll just take a ½ kilo, and they, you know, they come and you meet them and they just glow and they're like, oh my God, they're so fantastic. They've got hardly any unconsciousness, you know. That seems to me to be the way it goes, you know. How's that? Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the main thing is to try and be light with it all, you know. There's a lot going on at the moment. It's all pretty heavy. And there's a lot of fear in the air. There's a lot of, you know, things, a lot of changes and going on in consciousness. And if the lighter you can be, the less you'll get sort of stuck on any one thing. And you can just, yeah, do meditation. So like that's the person talking about chanting and mantras. I did mantras and chanting and all that kind of thing. It's lovely. But for me, it's more important to just deal with the hard bit. The hard bit's not thinking, because I found mantras are beautiful, and they're, you know, like say transcend. That's one of the things I did was transcendental meditation. You know, the mantra is attuned to your nervous system, so it's beautiful. You're inside basically banging a beautiful symbol off your nervous system that's just attuned to your nervous system. And it makes your nervous system like relax. It's beautiful, but it's like one step away from the hard bit, which is dealing with not thinking, and you know, the difficulty of that, and kind of going into the mystery beyond not thinking. So I can hypnotize my mind into kind of a catatonic state with the mantra, you know, like over and over and my mind will just like, yeah, nothing, no thoughts can get in or anything like that while I'm doing the mantra. But it's not going to, I've made much more progress by dealing with the difficulty of not thinking. And, you know, like meditation, the way I do it is, it's not pleasant. My nervous system is not singing under this beautiful symbol of a mantra, you know. But I've learned, you know, way more meditating, just bold kind of meditation with, you know, all it's about is not thinking and just bringing my mind back to not thinking. Like all the, I've had so many insights from that, you know. So that's why I don't do mantras and chanting, you know, as my main kind of thing. I mean, it's nice to be able to do it every now and then. Chanting, you know, like the Tibetan chanting is great. You can feel it sort of vibrating in your body. It's all brilliant. But ultimately for me, it's like to get down to business and just deal with my mind, you know, deal with the difficulty of my mind. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you always meditate for 15 minutes?
Yeah, at night, if I wake up at night, in the middle of the night, I might meditate for longer. But just in the day, I've found that 15 minutes is just ideal for me and my mind at the moment. My mind won't protest too much. 15 minutes is like, it can get its head around it and it can go, yeah, fine, 15 minutes, you know, okay. I can put up with 15 minutes. If it was like a half an hour, I would start to have trouble. My mind would protest too much, and it would be like, I've got time. I've got all those emails to do. I've got that Zoom group to do. I've got all this, you know, I can't be taking half an hour to meditate. Come on. All right. Whereas 15 minutes, I can get away with that. And remarkably, I can get away with it quite regularly, you know. So all things being equal, when I'm not out doing anything, or, you know, I can kind of wake up in the morning, I'll sit up in bed, I'll meditate for 15 minutes, and then I'll set a timer for an hour or an hour and 15 minutes. And it's great because it's like, that's another practice as well, because in an hour and 15 minutes, I've forgotten about it. or it's either an hour and 15 minutes, it varies. But either way, the time will have finished now. So I'll be in the middle of a cup of tea, or I'll be in the middle, about to go and do something, or in the middle of doing something, and my alarm will go off, and it'll be like, it's like freeze frame, you know, it's like just stops the momentum of the day. And I'll either go, okay, it's inappropriate, I'm driving, I'm not going to start meditating or whatever, or I'll meditate. I'll just stop what I'm doing and meditate for 15 minutes. And I find that great. That's really good for breaking up the momentum of the day. Because everything I thought was really important, you know, look, I'm in the middle of this email, or I'm in the middle of this thing that I'm doing, it's really important. You know, by the time I finish meditating, I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't that important. And I have all the benefits of meditation. Because I mean, like the benefits of meditation are just, there's so much, you know, it's the one thing that I've just kept doing, you know, and as I've said before, I've got no discipline like to do any of these things. You know, I can't, unless I'm getting something out of it, unless there's a good reason, I just won't do it. But it's like I've kept on with meditation. And it just, like, it's very good for the nervous system. But it's all kind of happens sideways with meditation. It's not like, I never directly experience it. It's a bit, it always reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever done this, you get up to see the dawn. Here in Ireland, the sun takes forever to get up, you know? So I can remember doing it as a teenager, like, oh yeah, I'm going to get up to see the sunrise, you know? And let's say you find at the time, okay, the sun rises at, you know, sunrise at 7:30, you know, so 7 o'clock you're there, or maybe 7:15, you're like, great, I'm gonna have this beautiful Hollywood moment, the sun's gonna rise, I'm gonna, you know, it's gonna be great. And it takes so long, particularly if it's a little bit overcast, when you can't actually see. It's not like this beautiful crescent appears, you know, it's like, it just gets a little bit lighter and a little bit more lighter and a little bit more lighter, and then you get bored and like, oh, this is, oh, it's terrible, it's taking forever. It's different in Australia. The sun pretty much ricochets into the sky in Australia, but in Ireland it takes forever. And then, you know, if I was with somebody and I'd be like, oh, we just get talking, whatever, and then you get distracted, and then suddenly it's like, oh, the sun's up. Oh, great, I missed it. You know, that's what meditation feels like to me. It's like I'm just doing the meditation, feeling, not having any beautiful feelings, not really feeling like I'm getting any clearer or anything like that, and then it's like suddenly you know, it's usually actually people saying things to me like, you're really calm, aren't you? And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you're incredibly calm. I'm like, oh, okay. Or, you know, I'd be in a situation and it just wouldn't bother me in the way that it had before, or something like that. So the benefits are not, for me anyway, they're not that obvious, you know. But yeah, I can't really go on enough about meditation. There's just so much to it that's good. But as I say, it's easy for me because I get a lot out of it. And it's obvious that I get a lot out of it, you know. Not sure if I answered your. So did I go off on a tangent there about meditation? I might have.
No, it's good. I like the idea of the little alarm, the reminder
Oh yeah,
for the meditation, or like to feel that inner space through the day.
yeah. Oh, it's great.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's great in so many levels because as soon as it goes off, I can immediately, you know, I can become conscious of all the protest and you know, like I know meditation's brilliant, you know, so the parts of me that protest about it are usually the parts that's my unconscious talking, you know. It's like going, oh no, I can't, I've got this really important thing to do, or, you know, and really it's like, oh, I don't want to do meditation, I don't want to sit there and not think, I want to, you know, I want to, you know. And it's like, it's great, it's a great little snapshot. And then what I notice as well is that, you know, it gets deeper during the day. So by the time, you know, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock comes along, that meditation is usually a lot deeper than, say, the one at 10 o'clock. That's something I've noticed generally, you know. So each one of those little 15 minutes meditations is different because stuff will have happened to me in the intervening time, and I'll be, you know, turning off those thoughts, you know, and each time I turn off thoughts, I'm indirectly saying to myself, you're not those thoughts, you're something else, you know. That's profound. That's profound and powerful. That I continually remind myself, I am not those thoughts, because it's not like I'm having random daydreams. I'm having really important thoughts. I'm thinking about important stuff to do with me and my life, and, you know, love, and, you know, things that I think are really serious. And, you know, it's like, no, we're meditating. Remember, turn off the pictures and turn off the sound, and stop thinking. And every time I'm doing that, I'm going, see, that what you thought was you 2 seconds ago and 1 instant ago is not you. You know, you're something else. Oh, that adds up. That has a cumulative effect, you know.
It's I think a lot about that hook you talk about. When you're enlightened, you don't have that hook. That hook is like I don't know, is that what you live your life around, the unconscious belief, or is it's a wound, or what's exactly? It's like I know you're free after you don't have that hook, but what it's your main fear, maybe, or what is it?
Well, again, I can only talk about me. And when I say a hook, I'm not talking about like a fishing hook. I'm talking about like a coat hook, you know, like a coat that you hang your coat, you know, a hook that you hang your coat on. It's not, you know, it's not as dramatic as a fish hook, or it's more mundane. Well, let me see now. For me, it was very unconscious. And I suppose the giveaway was my interest in enlightenment. You know, I mean, nobody ever had a little interview with me where they were like, so, okay, you've applied for enlightenment. What is it about enlightenment that you think you're, you know, going to get? It never happened like that. But in hindsight, that was quite telling, that there was this thing that I was interested in. And it just happened to be called enlightenment, you know? It could have been, I want to win the men's freestyle in the Olympics, you know? That for some people, that's it, you know? And like, you know, there's a famous quote from this mountaineer guy who, I don't know, he was the first guy up Everest without oxygen or something like that, something impressive, you know? And they said to him, so Werner, I think he was German, that's how he was. I'm, you know, completely probably way wrong on all these facts, but it doesn't matter. It's not what the story's about. Anyway, okay, Werner, you've climbed Everest without oxygen. You're the first person to do it. When you got to the top, what did it feel like? And he said, oh, well, you know, wherever you go, there you are. Okay. And I always thought that's a brilliant quote, because it's really understanding that, you know, you can't get away from yourself. You can't get away from your own stuff, you know. And he would have had that realization on the top of the mountain. I mean, there's another quote gone around about Jim Carrey, where he says something like, I wish everyone in the world could get everything they wanted. Everything they think they want, I wish they could get it, because then they'd realize it's not going to make them happy. And he's speaking as someone who possibly did that, got everything he thought he wanted and realized it didn't make him happy. So, you know, if you talked to me before getting enlightened, I probably would have said, if I get enlightened, I'm going to be happy, you know. I'm going to, you know, that's it. If I get that, then that'll be brilliant, you know. Now, luckily for me, I wasn't fixated on climbing Everest, you know, without oxygen, or swimming freestyle, or becoming Jim Carrey, whatever, actor, whatever. Luckily, the thing that I wanted had the transformative power, because unfortunately, when Werner got to the top of the mountain and went, great, I did it. And then it was like, shit, this isn't making me happy. So, you know, same with Jim Carrey. Oh, this didn't make me happy. Or the freestyle person didn't make me happy. Then they would have had to go and figure it out. You know, they would have had to go and figure out, well, what is it that's making me unhappy? You know, I mean, that was one of the first books I read of Barry's. It's not called this anymore, but it was called Ridding Yourself of Unhappiness. And I knew Sorry, someone's asking, how's the climbing man's name? The one from the quote. I don't know his name. I don't know his name. But if you put that into Google, wherever you go, there you are. It'll pop up, I'm sure, as who said it, you know. And I think it was a mountain guy, but it could have been, I don't know, greyhound racing guy. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was a mountain guy though. Yeah, like, thankfully for me, the thing that I thought would make me happy actually did make me happy indirectly. Or the thing that I thought would, you know, give me all the things that I wanted actually did give me all the things that I wanted. It wasn't like I had to go beyond and kind of go. Whereas unfortunately with those poor people, Jim Carrey and whatever, when they got there and realized it didn't make them happy, they still had to go looking for what would make them happy or what would deal with it, you know. So thankfully for me, Get Enlightened sorted all that out for me. But I mean, there are elements to everything that you said in it. Like, yes, there were fears, there were insecurities, there were, but I think they were superficial, you know, and yes, I had kind of made my life around it. But all of that seemed superficial because where the enlightenment happened was in the mystery. And unfortunately, that means it's kind of mysterious to me as well, even though it's all to do with consciousness and everything like that. I like the part of me that's talking to you right now doesn't really know. Which sounds crazy to say it, but it's true. Like, I don't really know what happened, but I just know it did happen. And I knew something was changed by it. I knew I was one way beforehand and another way after it. And it's a bit like meditation, you know, when, like, one of the reasons people have trouble meditating is because of the way time works in meditation. So if I am sitting down to meditate and I'm, you know, I'm thinking and I'm going, oh, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. So this is like a little, you know, graph here. I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner. And then I drop into the mystery. And maybe, I'm going to exaggerate here, maybe 5 minutes pass. Okay. It's usually only, it's a lot less than that, but let's say 5 minutes pass. And then I come up again and I go, for dinner tonight, because I had that thing yesterday. Now my mind doesn't register the gap. So it will take those two things and join them together. So from my mind's perspective, it'll be like, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, because, and it won't register the gap that when I'm actually in the mystery. And that's why I can come to the end of meditation and feel like I don't have this anymore, but I used to. Like, I was just thinking the whole time. I was just thinking the whole time. That was a terrible meditation. I was just thinking the whole time, right? And it's a little bit like that, you know. It's like, here's before meditation, or here's before enlightenment, then enlightenment happens, and then here's after. And there's a thing that happened in the middle that my mind can only just kind of come up with, you know, words for, you know. That doesn't really describe it, unfortunately. Because, as I say, it kind of happened. I did make it happen in one way, but in another way I didn't make it happen. It just kind of happened, you know. It would be like, you know, talking to a piece of popcorn and saying to it, so what made you pop, you know? Like, well, I don't know. I was just there. I was pretty uncomfortable and it was a bit hot. And then suddenly I'm this. Now I'm this. I used to be this thing that was really tight. Now I'm this thing, you know? It's quite similar to that. I don't know. Does that help? Yeah. Okay. Good.